Welcome to this episode of We the Sovereign podcast series. We are a community of educators, protectors, and dream catchers with the vision to uplift the stories of all of our sisters and brothers of Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We believe there is beauty in unity. It is our mission to elevate stories of resilience and inspire systematic change. Episode 2, Meet DDA. Hi everyone, I am Valencia Marie and I am the host of We the Sovereign podcast, and today I'm here with the one and the only DDA.
What's happening? I always appreciate your introduction.
Yes! How are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
We just took some nice deep breaths. How do you feel after that?
Relaxed. Great. Ready to talk about it.
Yeah.
Ready to have some good conversations. I feel awesome.
I'm feeling very much more grounded, that deep breath. And I was in space with DDA yesterday and we got to do some meditation. And I don't know if it's just the space or the meditation or the space amplifying the meditation, but I felt more grounded than ever. And I'm feeling that again right now. So thank you for your space and holding space.
No problem at all.
So tell the people, where are we at? Where's this being recorded?
So we are located on the boulevard in Del Paso Heights. We're located specifically at 1814 Del Paso Boulevard, Sacramento, California. Please come visit us throughout the week. This is definitely a neighborhood and a community that's not always catered to as, other communities. And so honestly, it's great to be in this space. And this is where we're looking to build out this space specifically that we're in, into being a tranquility temple. So the vibes are intentional. It's meant to be a relaxing, serene, but still good, energized space. Yeah, so that's where we're at. We're in the Heights.
We're in the Heights, and Something Welly. So is this Something Welly the name of the space? What?
Yeah, so Something Welly, we're still playing around with the name. This is essentially our HQ. We also look at it and call it the DAO, which is the Department of Wellness. We're very centered in on wellness. So still playing around with the name. It's Something Welly for right now because what we do is wellness. We're providing Welly packs, and we're just looking at different ways we can, cater to the community and create something within the community that has its own kind of lineage of, impacts while we're here and whatnot. And I know the visuals did just change. I know we're super live and all of that. If I can get somebody to go and just tap a couple screens back just to the Free Your Mind page, it would make me so happy. I'm so sorry about this. Yeah, just that may happen again, and I just want to go ahead and let people know to not be surprised if it does. So, but yeah.
Well, on the topic of Free Your Mind and also light and water, how does light and water and Free Your Mind coexist?
Free Your Mind and light and water coexist as kind of somewhat of our tagline, somewhat of our focus point, when we're thinking about what is it we're really trying to do or communicate right now, right? It's meditation, it's yoga, it's wellness, it's a lot of these practices that are commonly associated with wellness, but at the core of it, what we're looking at doing is saying, how do you free your mind? When you think about meditation, is how do you get through the things that distract you? How do you free yourself from those distractions so you can get to what your purpose is, your goals are, what it is you really deep down want to do versus what society kind of throws in your face and makes you think you need to do. So it's about freeing your mind from that. It's going into the meditations and utilizing that as a practice to free your mind from the distractions in your life. It's doing the yoga to free your mind of those distractions that may make you feel like, oh, my body's too tired, oh, my mind's too tired. It's utilizing these different practices to get to that space of mind where it's a more pure sense of you, what you want to do, and what you feel like connected and aligned with. So when we think about it at Light and Water, it's like, how do we get people to break through barriers that they may have created themselves or that people impose upon them, and get them to unlock their fullest potential and be their best selves. Like, our goal is to see how can we leverage the things that we've learned and help people to unlock their fullest potential. Because, what does a world look like when everybody's operating at their fullest potential? Do we still have these same problems, or do we have new great opportunities and visuals and experiences going on? What's the world like when, 95% of us are at least in a strong, good, healthy, well lifestyle? Yeah. So freeing your mind is like, freeing your mind is more so about getting to your fullest potential.
So I had watched something or listened to something yesterday, and it was actually on Instagram, and this girl was talking about, are people really sticking to this narrative or the narrative of journal prompting when I wake up, gratitude, my morning yoga, doing all these things? Or is this really what's taking place on a daily basis? Because for me, I noticed that I had seasons where yoga was really useful and I really needed it, and I had that routine. Then I'm in a season now where I'm not doing as much yoga, and even today, like, I tried to just flow a bit, but not how I used to. So I want to know, how is it that you free your mind, and like, what do those routines look like for you?
Yeah, I think for one, to kind of address that first point, it's going to be different for everybody. Like, journaling may not be your thing. The gratitude may not be your thing, despite people saying, oh, science says this, and science says a lot of things, and science can be right in a lot of ways, but to the individual, there can be some minor differences, or other ways people are more so better affected on things, right? So for me, I have this little routine I call breakfast. So it's my breakfast routine. I get up, I do a little workout, I then do yoga, and then I meditate. It's just kind of my way of flowing. I imagine like the working out helps just get my body in motion. Then after like all that stress on my body, I want to stretch it out, ease like all the muscle tension that was going on during the workout. And then once my body is getting more and more in a lax state, then I like end it off with meditation. So it's like starting off high to end off low, but to have all that energy now calm down, so that way I can put it into the day in a more calm and energized and focused way. So yeah, I do breakfast. Like, I try to write, and I'm working on that. That's not necessarily my personal day-to-day habit just yet. It's something that's more of a goal for me. But it's also I also find wellness in different ways. So sometimes it's also just turning on like different music in the morning when I get up, just to kind of just jumpstart my body and my vibe for the day. Just to play something that's like, I need to focus, so I'm going to play some, I may need to play some Future or whatever if I'm getting in the zone on something. But it's different, but mainly it's breakfast for me. Yeah.
I love that you call it breakfast.
Yeah.
Because that really is like that's your food for the morning, for the rising. That's your rising ritual, breakfast. Yep. Everyone's breakfast looks a little different. Lately, mine has been lime water and ginger with chia seeds to like cleanse my gut a bit.
I feel you. That's fire.
Yeah.
That's fire. Yeah. No, you got to, and the liquid parts are like super important. I'm sleeping on that part of my morning routine. It's like, I used to do like just the lemon water in the morning, and that honestly was like a cheat code, because I'd get up, have a sip of that, I'd be really, really good to go.
Okay, so now I'm curious to know, like, do you eat breakfast though?
Yeah, that's a funny thing. I don't. I like rarely eat breakfast, because I feel like in the morning I can eat and I'll be hungry in just a few hours, versus if I eat in the afternoon, like I'm good for throughout the afternoon. And plus, honestly, I don't like to. It kind of works for me to not have a whole lot on my stomach in the morning, because then I feel like I have a lot more like energy reserves from the night before to just burn off, and then I'll eat, replenish, and go off for the next rest of the day.
So in other words, it looks different for everyone.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
that morning routine, your breakfast routine, it's really realizing that each day has something completely different to offer, and what works yesterday may not work today. You know, and so forth and so forth. And I'm finding beauty and also ease in being in the flow of, you know what, today I'm really not resonating with the high vibrations. I want to hear Future this morning, you know, and not be like, oh, this isn't high vibrational. No, this is high vibrational for me in this moment. You know what I'm saying? I need to hear Accepting All My Flaws. Like, wake my spirit up. Truly.
Yeah, sometimes you need that. It's just like, it's an energy too. Sometimes it's not about, sometimes for me, even with music, it's not always about like the words as far as receiving the message. It's just receiving like the energy like of the song, like the, just how like the music, boosts my like just energy to get me going. It's like coffee, right? Like coffee caffeinates people, gives them that kind of energy. For me, I'll listen to some 808s and get the kind of energy I need to go and really focus on something sometimes. And it's just, you know, fun too, dancing around, like listening to music while I'm working. It's just the way I like to work in. And that's like part of the way I like to wellness, if you will, right? Like it's different for different people. You know, some people like complete silence, you know, when they work, and sometimes I like that. But yeah, I mean, I think you just got to find what is it that works and not be so stuck on, well, science says this, people said this, all these people have tried this, it's cool, listen, and don't necessarily shut things out, but also like recognize that you are you, and you're gonna have to go through and figure out what's gonna be the best option for yourself. So, but take that time, because it's a cheat code to know the different codes of yourself, you know, to unlock the different parts of yourself. It's like, oh, I know this about me. Decision making becomes incredibly easier. Like in situations, you know thyself.
Nope. Literally was on the tip of my tongue. We literally just had this conversation yesterday about knowing thyself. Like I feel like that's what it comes down to, and even applying it to finding that routine for yourself. Like knowing that today is going to be different. Knowing thyself. Period. Point blank. You know, where my grandfather is actually celebrating, I think, 74 this weekend.
What?
Yes.
That's great.
And he's in great health and spirit, plant-based, works out, like just keeping his upkeep is beautiful. But he always tells me that I'm in my 70s, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning myself. I can learn from anyone from any age also. And just to hear that too is beautiful, because it's like, I feel like some people, and when I say people, kind of our family at times, they may not be open to receiving us in our journey, and also open to learning from all walks of life, you know? And everyone can be a student and everyone can be a teacher.
Always.
And you know what? I really, really thank you, because I am a student when I'm in space with you and like learning the different things that you do, because you've beautifully made it happen, you know?
Thank you.
Now, light and water, how did you come up? How did this manifest? Like light and water. Where did that even come from? Why light and water?
Why light and water? The name, I mean, the name came from a very simple way. I was kind of thinking about it when I was coming up with the name, but it more so came from, you know, back in maybe 2016, 2017, starting to look into meditation, just in general, just kind of exploring it. That's when I first maybe started journaling a little bit as well. So getting into it, it was very small scale. I was doing this app. It was Insight Timer, actually. It was pretty cool. And a friend of mine had told me about it, so I started checking it out. And then another friend of mine told me about this retreat. This was 10-day silent meditation retreat where they teach you the technique of Vipassana meditation. So it's this meditation where it's really about getting deep within, like being able to observe your senses, but they take you through this journey of learning how to get to that level of like mental, sensational awareness within these 10 days. Now, when I went there, I went during like the New Year's, Christmassy time. So there were a lot of people that were there. I think there were like 250 people there. And going to it, I'm not really thinking too much of it. I'm just thinking in my head like, oh, this is going to be interesting, right? 10 days, you can't talk, you can't read, you can't write, you can't use your devices, anything like that. I go there, there's 250 people there. We're in the boonies in California, like I think somewhere in the Bay Area. Beautiful space, beautiful space, beautiful people, and an experience. But I realized like, yo, there's 250 people here. I'm like the only black dude here. And I'm like, yo, this is nuts. But it really started to highlight and point out to me like, yeah, we like in my community, people I know, neighbors I've grown up in, this isn't like a strong topic of ours. Like we don't look at this as something that we do. Even, you know, I've had like parents like kind of question like my mental health in that sense of like, oh, why are you meditating and doing that? Like what's the matter with you? And not seeing that it could also be just an empowering tool, just like weights are to the body when you work out. And so I'm going through the experience. It's 10 days. It's hard as hell. I'm over here going crazy from time to time, but it's very beautiful because I'm like learning this technique of how to calm my mind, how to be able to sit through long stretches of time with myself, letting all these thoughts hit me, but not necessarily being reactive to all these thoughts, and really training myself over this period of time. So I definitely came out very like, it was a beautiful experience to say the least. And I left that experience with like this goal of like, yo, there were not many of me's in here. I'm gonna go and start like meditating with my friends. Like we're gonna start meditating and chilling, you know, and getting our minds right before we're, you know, getting to work, whatever the case is. And so I started, one of my best friends like let me use his spot to start like hosting, not even really hosting, but just bringing some folks together on Sundays, like just call it Sunday meditation sessions. And I would invite a few friends out, send out flyers and reminders and whatnot. And it would just be I think it would be an hour long, 30 minutes. It would be 30 minutes long. We'd get together. I would lead the meditation, but I would always have like water sounds and like some candles or something. And over time that turned into LEDs and just like water audio, etc. So I kept doing that for some time, like a couple years, I think maybe a year or two. I was doing that, just hosting on the weekends. It was sometimes weekly, sometimes monthly, sometimes we went offline for a little bit, but usually always on Sundays. And there came a time where I was like, all right, this is cool. And I'm like, also kind of getting the sense of like, yo, there needs to be a space. I would love a space to where I can go into and just kind of like free my mind, relax, and not have to talk to people, deal with people, and just kind of like, you know, just lounge and relax without it having to be anything else but that sometimes, right? Just complete just space for silence or something. And there was this grant that came out, and I was like, oh, cool, perfect. Maybe this will be the opportunity where I create these tranquility temples, because I had this idea, like, you know, I think if there are tranquility temples in all of our under-resourced communities, that would help, like, people's mind, and that would thus trickle down into people's day-to-day, different decision-making, things going on, you know, ideally advancing community by advancing the people within the community. By helping them to like advance themselves by getting through things that may be blocking them from their best versions of self, you know? And we wrote the grant. We were like, all right, cool, we're gonna do these tranquility temples. We were gung-ho. We were talking to like, I think we were talking to Oak Park Community Center about getting it done. They were interested. Unfortunately, didn't get the grant, but realized like, you know, even if we made the space, we need to, you know, we want people to like at least have different ways of being able to interact with the space. So it's like, let's teach them about different things that they can do while they're in the space, like meditation, yoga, etc. And so that's when the idea came to say, hey, we just need to make this a nonprofit and just go on this mission to advance the well-being of our communities and find our different ways of doing it, because we wanted to make sure we're doing it in our authentic way and not just in ways seen per se. And so it's been a fun journey kind of navigating that, but ultimately it came down to, we need to make this a nonprofit. And I need a name. So I'm like, yo, what's the name going to be? And so I'm like, I don't know. At every session we have, what do we have? We have like lights, we have some candles, we have some water sounds. And I was like, oh, light and water. And I was like, it'll just be called Light and Water. And metaphorically, it was speaking to me. I'm like, essentials, nourishment, everybody needs light and water, all this stuff. But it really was like, it fit, because I was like, yeah, I think everybody should, in some capacity, in their own ways, find ways to exercise their minds, right? Whether that's reading and you're just like, that fuels you and also gives you the therapy that you need, or doing music, or doing business, whatever it is that kind of helps you find your flow. But also getting in the headspace of, being able to be present and calm and not crazily reactive in situations, but able to assess a situation differently. And there were a lot of different aspects about like the start of Light and Water, but the main thing was, let's teach people expose folks to meditation, because that's what I was exposed to. I saw it as a great tool. I'm like, let's start with this. And we're still doing that, and we've expanded into different areas within wellness, sound therapy, yoga. We look at music as a different form of mindfulness, right? Like just getting into flows through music, or being a musician and finding your flow while you're doing music. But also just seeing how like the mind can play a very significant role on all of it, and saying, hey, let's exercise this. Let's work on exercising our minds a bit, so that way we can help in all of these other ways. Like clearer minds can make way more clear decisions in way less time than clouded minds full of a lot of different opinions and things. Because a lot of those things, I don't think people realize, like even the feelings you feel when you're making a decision matter, right? Like you want to feel good when you're like making a decision and saying something and feeling like that's part of the feeling of like, say, confidence or the lack thereof. It's like that feel. So just being able to tap in that deeply, that directly, and just kind of me looking at mindfulness and just exercising, not just physically, but how do we exercise mentally as a means to, progress, get better, or even just maintain and just, live a happy life, right? Yeah. So.
Wow.
So Light and Water came from going to this retreat, not seeing anybody else that really looked like me, coming out of it, and needing a name for a nonprofit so we can create tranquility temples and do a lot more things to, fulfill our mission.
Sure.
Yeah.
So with all of that, how I know balance. And what I've been dying for you to share more with me about is the balance within the 7 dimensions of wellness. I have not heard about the 7 dimensions of wellness until DDA brought it up to me, and everyone that's came into space were like, have you heard of the 7 dimensions of wellness? And they're like, no. And DDA is like, you haven't heard of this? So break it down to me.
Yeah,
like,
I thought I was like late. I keep telling everybody I thought I was like late to this 7 dimensions of wellness party. But, the 7 dimensions of wellness looks at 7 areas of our lives and essentially says you can assess any one of these 7 areas and probably find where the source of maybe your problems are at the time, or maybe your successes. So the 7 dimensions of wellness looks at your vocation or your work. It looks at your environment. It looks at your social ability or just your socialness. It looks at your financial wellness. It looks at your mental, physical, and spiritual wellness. And you can look at any one of those things and pick any one and say, what happens if you do this to this button? What happens to the system? What happens if I press the down button on spirituality, but for this person? Because it's not like, okay, well, if you affect everybody's physical the same way, everybody gets affected the same way. It's not true at all. Like some people have more resilience in different areas. So it's kind of assessing your levels of resilience in these different areas. And then, you know, say something's going on in your life and you're trying to assess and figure out, how do I get back to where I'm like, you know, feeling whatever feeling you may desire, or coming to accept and being able to accept where you're at and moving comfortably within that. But 7 dimensions of wellness are somewhat of a compass and kind of letting you know, like, can be somewhat of a compass and letting you know where you are, and being able to identify which ones of those you may be lacking or doing great in is just good for your awareness, right? Being able to identify like what the sources are, always, I don't care what anybody tells you, are gonna definitely help in being able to solve that problem, because you at least have identified some of the sources. So 7 dimensions of wellness: your work-life balance, your, you know, work, vocation, your, you know, let's call it your workplace wellness, then your environmental wellness, your surroundings. You know, are you in a good location city-wise? Do you got asthma? And are you in like downtown somewhere where it's hard to breathe? So your environment's key. Social, you know, the people you surround yourself with or interact with, that's important. Your financials. If you broke, it's gonna be hard to have some good mental health sometimes. So, you know, your financials, and obviously your mental health, your physical health, and then your spiritual health. And that, all of that varies for everybody. But if you looked at those 7 and you started to kind of assess your life a little bit, and you say, oh, you know what, I have been kind of tripping out. And it kind of did happen when I did lose that job. So maybe it's not that my physical and mental, like, it's not that I need to be so harsh on myself there, but maybe I need to understand that because my financials were hit, you know, these things have went down. But maybe if I focus on kind of repairing my financials instead of looking at it all like I need to fix everything at once, you know, maybe that one thing I fix will fix 3 to 5 other things. So it may help, you know, assess how you approach your life.
Art, tech, fashion.
Yep.
What do those words mean to you?
Everything. Yo, like everything in the sense of, those are definitely areas I spend a lot of time in my life. Art, I mean, just forever, just growing up, loving music, paintings, just creative ingenuity in many forms has always been a very pivotal part of my life, I'd say, right? And tech came for sure later, but the magic of it, it's magic that's like what I really enjoy about it. The fact that you can literally create something that if you showed people from 50 to 100 years before our time, they would look and say, literally, this is magic. Because, you know, some of the things that it takes to understand technology are crazy. Like, I don't think we've ever really seen an electron, but we know so many things about it. And it runs a lot of the things that we're using. I mean, even the camera and all the things that we have right now. Fashion, I mean, always been in the clothes, love clothes, get it from my mama for sure. And yeah, no, she fly. She's like the flyest woman I know.
Nice.
Like hands down.
Hands
down. And so I just always had a love for like clothes and being able to, I don't think this part of my interest in fashion came till getting more into like college, where now there's this like persona of professionalism that they try to like kind of impress upon you, that you should kind of fit the mold of if you want to get certain jobs or in certain rooms. And a lot of that relates back to appearance, which relates back to clothes, right? Your outfit, your uniform, how you show up, how you decide to show up, and it can say a lot about you in whatever ways you want to look at it. But the beauty of it is it ties back into the art in terms of kind of expressing how you are in the world, or how you like to not necessarily be perceived per se, but just like what's your own, like what you're interested in. Like when you come into a space, you know, your outfit may say you want to be comfortable, relaxed, and you're not worried about trying to look a certain way, if that's how you're thinking about it. Or you may always want to come in suited up just because you are always about business and you need people to always know it. Just because that's just how you are. But it's the freedom of the three, or the freedom that the three can provide a person. Not even just the freedom, but like the expression, you know, just art and just like all the new things that get created that then foster imaginations and whole characters and thus whole careers and whole ideologies people stick to, grow up with, and fantasize over and create their lives around, right? Like art's powerful, technology's powerful, fashion's powerful. And for me, I'm like interested in them, and I'm very into design. So like a part of like my design philosophies or just interest or passion is just the thoughtfulness put into those things, right? Like how much work, or even just the mind space, say a Picasso had to be in to create something that no one's ever really seen before, right? To get into the inventor's mind and be able to like bring out that invention that was sitting in there and present it to the masses. Or, you know, that it's, you know, that it's a Miyake piece that's like one piece, but it looks like origami. And it's like, how does one get to that level of sophistication? And not even sophistication in the intellectual sense, but this level of sophistication of like, wow, they really like dug deep somewhere. Not even just in books, but they went creative, then they went nature, then they went and incorporated this. They found a different part of themselves that they were able to tap into and kind of produce something that was very unique, but also produced a new idea, a new suggestion on, you know, what if we did something like this? And it was a lot more free-flowing and less structured in the factory sense of like, okay, well, let's produce versus, well, yeah, it's efficient to do that, but what's the new way that could scrap the idea of efficiency? You know, like what's that? And sometimes that's only unlocked through creative ways, and you know, blending like say art, tech, and fashion is beautiful, but them individually are, you know, cool things in and of themselves that I enjoy. So yeah, I would say that those are very much things I'm just passionate about, interested in, and things that I see heavily contribute to life in direct and very indirect ways. Because I know some people be like, man, how's fashion going to change things? You know, but then you think, well, I mean, it may change the way you buy clothes or think about clothes, and that may change the way you think about manufacturing. You know, things trickle down, but art, tech, and fashion are definitely huge passions.
I started to pay attention to fashion a bit more when I started to fall more of a fan for Kanye West, and then also his relationship with Kim Kardashian, and then Yeezy and what Kanye brought to the fashion world, and then also Kim Kardashian and Skims, and how the basics are like beautiful. Like simplicity is beautiful. Now, I had the opportunity of being in the Death of a Man's Ego, which was Dome, yes, DDA's fashion show, and that was a really, really dope experience. That was my first time ever being in a fashion show, and thank you again for taking my fashion show virginity. That was really, really dope. But even like the pieces that you had were simple and they were basics, but also very different, and how you just beautifully orchestrated that was amazing. And Death of a Man's Ego was your celebrating your birthday, right?
Yeah, that was on my birthday as well.
That was 30 what?
31.
31.
Yeah, 31 in this thing.
Nice. Okay.
31 candles.
31 candles? Right.
No,
now,
sure.
As far as fashion, you're rocking some of your brand right now. Now, what other things, as far as inspiration comes to you, or what influences your inspiration for fashion and what you're trying to do?
Before I answer that, can we like play? Can you hit like the next slide so the video starts playing? She was referencing the Death of Man's Ego fashion. So if you just press the thing one time, it should start. So this is, can you actually press it one more time? We can go to the next video. This is like the start. This is when people actually start to have clothes. Perfect. So the death of man's ego, fashion, all that stuff. This was fun, and thank you for being a part of this, because this was really like a magical experience, just how everything kind of came together. And it was my birthday. It was kind of like an idea of, you know, how do you, not necessarily how all the time, but just the idea of killing off like some ideas of self. Not necessarily that you got to kill yourself per se, but just certain things that may not necessarily be serving you. And so when it comes to fashion, yeah, we're very much into how do we make some unique pieces, but how do we also just make simply unique pieces, like things that are comfortable, relaxing. And I like to be relaxed. I'm in the space of relaxation, comfort, and you know, I want things to be very simplified in terms of how I got to think about my wardrobe. And but you know, we also like to have fun. In this show, we got to play around with different pieces, and a lot of it is athleisure. A lot of it is, you know, my favorite like clothing invention is the hoodie. So you'll see from us over time a lot of deconstruction of the hoodie, and you know, different ways of looking at it and playing around with it. Just because, you know, just one of my favorite inventions. I think it's useful, and you know, with clothes too, you know, we don't want to throw a lot of things away. So anything we cut, we try to see how we can repurpose it. How can we turn that into a new garment, a new piece, or an add-on to something we've already created? So we're not just like, you know, wasting and being wasteful. Because we understand too, you know, the fashion industry can be very harsh on the environment, and we want to be very, very better about our selection of fabrics, materials, and very aware of like the whole process of getting that and how it's affecting the environment, and really working to produce high quality pieces to the point where people aren't needing and seeking to find so many more, because it's like, no, I got my one that's like it. Not that you got to just have one, because you know, people want to have their like Monday to Sunday, and that's fine too, but you know, focusing on creating quality pieces, feel good pieces that you want to chill in, sleep on, and just be a very simple aspect of your life. Like, we want to get to the point where you're not having to really think so much about what you're gonna wear today, because you already got like sets of fits ready. You know, where a lot of what we want to do too is take a lot of mundane thinking out of life and replace that with more meaningful moments, like just people being able to connect, you know, being able to just throw on some things and leave the house but still feel fly and fashionable, and feeling like, yo, I feel great, and I feel like just, you know, like I'm about to have a great day. So yeah, with fashion, we're definitely playing around with mainly athleisure. You'll probably see some fun pieces come in like the winter time as it gets cooler. But yeah, we want to clothe all the change makers, all the people that are trying to go out and change things and need to put their hoodie on and get down to business, need to put their sweats on and just get straight to it, you know, because there's work to be done, and they're ready to get it done. So, you know, change makers, people exercising and propelling themselves in different ways, we're for y'all. And we're here to clothe people who just want to generally get fly too. So yes, it's a fun place to be, and it's a functional place to be, because we all need clothes, and we want to make sure that we're able to create access to high quality clothing for communities that don't get the Louis Vuitton store, you know, in their mall, but it's, you know, in the other city's mall. So it's like, you don't even really always get to experience different levels of quality. You don't even, you know, sometimes you don't get to really even see how much better. So you always will hold on to like what you're used to, just based on you being used to just that. But if you've seen and known, you probably will say like, yeah, there is other levels, and they can be accessed. It's just hard to access them sometimes. So where we can provide access to hard to access things, experiences, services, products, we're definitely looking in those areas. I hope I answered your question about clothes. I'm not even sure.
I mean,
we love clothes.
That was the perfect answer. Today I was in Pilates and the lady we were doing bridges and with other mates, and the lady that I was with, she had me doing a few bridges, and then she had the instructor, the main lady, had asked a question, and she was like, "How many bridges did she have you do, Valencia?" She did so many, and I was like, "She did just the right amount, like just enough." Mm-hmm. And they were like, "That was such a diplomatic answer," and I'm like, "It was just right." You know what I'm saying? Like, but your response was exactly what it needed to be.
Solid.
And I know we were just talking about earlier your wardrobe right now, and if you haven't noticed, DDA is all black. I'm kind of in an all white era. Maybe today and maybe tomorrow, maybe black. I don't know because of how I'm feeling. But this casual, this light, this simplistic season that you're in, because that's a little bit what we were talking about. This is the simplicity is what for you? What is this your fashion for right now, and especially the all black that you've been wearing, or I've been seeing you wear lately? Like, what is there significance to this?
Yeah, it's about time. It's funny because it's really mainly about time. Like, there's aesthetics involved, and really, like, I love to like piece together different kind of garments and colors and all of that. If you looked at a lot of my paintings, they're full of like color, but right now it's mainly about simplifying and just kind of getting to work. Because right now I don't want to have to think so much every day about, all right, how am I going to be fly today? How am I going to get fly today? It's not like it's a not fun thing to do. I love it, but it's also knowing I have a lot of other things that I'm really working towards. So do I want to spend any of my mind time thinking about just clothes and what I'm wearing every day? Or do I want to think about a system of wearing clothes for now, for the phase of life that I know I'm in? Because right now I'm just building, I'm working. I'm not like going out as much. I'm not in a super travel season where I'm like out traveling, but like I'll still go on my retreat. So it's real low key. It's not about getting hella, super dresses. It's about comfort and ease of getting to my day, and still feeling like good in what I have on, like fly and what I have on, able to play around with a little thing here and there with what I have on. So it's about, let me keep things simple. And one thing about it was, colors. As someone who likes to paint too, it takes me the longest time sometimes to like marry colors together, because I'm just like, I'll be picky about it, or it's just, I want to try different things. But it's like, I don't have time to always paint with my wardrobe. Sometimes I just need to know what I'm about to wear and get to it. And so it turned into, well, I like all black. I have a lot of all black already. Let me just keep getting more black things. So that way picking clothes is more so like just throwing on layers for the weather. Because then it's like, all right, it's cold. I'm going to get my pants with my like long sleeve shirt, hoodie, jacket, done. And then I'm out the door. I'm not thinking, well, which thing, It's not like it's a bad thing. It's just like there are other things that I want to do with my day than to think about what I'm about to wear every single day. Like, I want a simple morning. Let me get to my breakfast and get to business. Like, in between that, let me have those things be very lo-fi, like in my mind as far as making a decision. So it's mainly like time. Yeah, and when we have more time, we'll get more fly. Like, bring in different pieces into the closet. Maybe have a closet that's just full of color and different suits or whatever. But because I enjoy those things. But right now, no, we just get my hoodie, my sweats. I don't know what I'm about to do for spring just yet, but for right now, while it's still a little breezy, I'm going to be comfortable and throw on some things that are easy to just get to work with.
Easy, comfortable, so you can get to business.
Yep.
Period, point blank.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little bit about entrepreneurship for you.
Man, I don't know. You might have to ask like a more specific question. That's like, because with entrepreneurship, that's what I'll say. Is what I'm definitely doing right now.
And like, specifically your journey with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Entrepreneurship is, I don't even know how to describe it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's such like a beast, mm-hmm. a beauty and a beast, mm-hmm. like all together.
Those are, and beauty and beast is a beautiful describing phrase or mm-hmm. what have you, mm-hmm. because there's pros and cons, like the expectations of others that you have working with, you know, like realizing that you want to be really specific on what you want as a creative, mm-hmm. and you want people to execute it, and putting your foot down and being that quote unquote asshole to communicate what you want and your desires are.
There's a lot to entrepreneurship, and it's beautiful in the sense of, I can only speak on my experience, because the thing about entrepreneurship is it's a choice. I for sure have chosen mm-hmm. to do this. Mm-hmm. So knowing that it's a choice, know that it's going to come with its bumps and bruises, but also its trophies in their own ways. And I love it. Like, I enjoy it. This is what I want to do. I want to be able to dictate my time and determine how I feel a problem should be solved, and work my way to figuring out how to solve that problem. Mm-hmm. And that's not to say that working in organizations and companies isn't a way of solving problems. That's honestly a great way, a way faster way a lot of the times. And you got a lot of support, and sometimes you just need the idea and the platform. Mm-hmm. But it's just the way that I've chosen to go about like solving the issues, or addressing whatever I decided I wanted to address. So it's been fun. The one funny thing I always joke around with people now and say, well, not even joke, but just like, I understand how people say, yeah, it took 5 years for us to get to like even a recognizable place by more than 5 people at one time. Mm-hmm. You know, when you walked into a space where you had a booth anywhere. So it takes a while to build a business, and a lot of building a business is building out yourself, because you kind of need to know, like, well, this is on me. How do I work? What do I need? What do I need the space hours to be? But also what's going to work within this industry. So it's not just that you're building something, but you're also like in a phase of needing to build yourself, because now you're interacting with a lot of other people. Like, how do you interact? How do you make decisions? How do you respond to criticism? How do you respond to failed orders? How do you respond to successes? How do you respond to hiring and trying to convince somebody of something that you may have not even thought you needed to convince somebody of? How do you respond to new questions you've never heard of? You know, so it's a lot of like, how do you deal with this? You'll find that people that become entrepreneurs have a lot more, at least in my experience from the people that I've interacted with, have a lot more like, I would say like feedback to provide, like a lot more insight to provide in terms of direct ways they've dealt with things. Not, oh, I heard if you do this, or I've heard this, but it's like, no, they're telling you, you know, based on my experiences, I've learned that I'm going to need to run things in this way, right? And it's cool, because it's like, I feel like you really get to see yourself in your business to some degree, but you also learn how you really need to treat it and groom it. You ain't never been a gardener, but now you're really having to tend to this business like a garden. You like, okay, I got to water this every day. Yeah. Oh, snap. I need to put up the windows because, you know, they need light. Yeah. Okay, now I have to do this, and incorporating a lot of those things into your lifestyle. So maintaining like a balance of like your well-being and the ability to do the work at the level you want to do it becomes a supreme challenge, right? Because now I'm like, yo, my energy level is so much more important than most things in life right now. It's crazy. Yeah. Like, I want to be way more on point. And because I'm coming into contact with more people, so it's like, yeah, how do I get even better, right? How do I like really get my mind in a more zen place, because there are more things that it needs to deal with. But one thing I say too, like, it'll make you feel like, yo, there's so many things happening all at
once. And it's true, things are happening all at once, but you don't have to think about everything all at once. So you start to learn how to, you can start to learn how to calm yourself down in higher stress situations. Yeah, it's a journey. And I'm like talking to different places. I'm thinking about, okay, well, there's also how do you build a team out, right? And that's a lot like relationships, right? How do you find the compatible person that can come in and really work, with you on some of your flaws and some of their things that they're great at? How do y'all come together to continue this mission that you all have decided is, hey, we both want to do this thing. How do we work together to make this thing happen? So it's a lot of new stuff, new interactions. If you're not used to, leading teams, needing to make decisions, you actually have to really think. And then one thing you don't always realize beforehand is like you have meetings with people a lot, and you still have to make time for the work you guys do. And then, not everybody's always realizing that. So one of the other real key things in the journey of like doing business and stuff is realizing people aren't going to care or know all of what it takes to do what you do. And you have to be fine with that. If you want people to always know every single thing you're doing and to acknowledge everything, it's not going to go the way you may want it to. You got to understand that there are going to be things that only you've done to the level and extent that you did it that people will not be able to fathom, and you won't necessarily get the acknowledgement all the time that you have to be okay with. It's really like nobody asked who watered all these plants in this forest that made all these trees. They just come in and they're just enjoying the trees. And you got me, and it's like, yeah, it's fun. You go through and you learn how to deal with different things mentally, because things affect you the same way. It's not like you become a boss, CEO, manager, whatever, and now you don't have feelings. But people will for sure look at you like, oh, I'm not tripping. They're who they are. They're not tripping. Mm-hmm. It's like, people still feel and look the same and still, think the same things, but, it's just understanding that people's perception of you will shift and change, and you may get approached differently than you normally would just based on what they may perceive you to be, who they perceive you to be, the title they've given you, and what that means to them in their lives. So I would say the best way to sum up this question in a sense is my journey of entrepreneurship has been a series of learning how and getting better with constantly dealing with new situations. How do I go into a new situation and don't lose my, how do I just go and continuously get into new situations where I may have to think differently than I ever thought and come to a new decision. Because that's been a lot of the journey of like, oh wow, I don't know this, but it's like I can't sit there and that's not always going to be an excuse. It's like, okay, well, how do we deal with this situation? And it then becomes more so, how do we just deal with certain things as they come? And you start to learn that about yourself, but also that goes back into the business side of things. And, okay, this is how I make decisions. I know myself and I know what I want. I know what I want standard-wise from our products, from our services. But, that happens over time sometimes, and sometimes you got to get messed up things for you to realize how much you care about things. And it's like, okay, yeah, see, I'm not that quality level, absolutely not. And then you start to really stick with the quality. I would say business also has taught me, it makes it easy to realize how efficient and effective it is to work with high-performing, quality folks. Like when they talk about the difference between working with A players, B players, and C players, such a real thing. Such a real thing. Like you work with C players, you will get C results. You work with B players, you will get B results. You work with A players, you'll get A results. Yeah. Because A players want to do the A plus kind of work, and it's not just on the school mindset of grades of A, B, C, but more so just like, who's the MVP of the league, right? Or who's on the All-Star team, and It's like, yo, let's bring those folks in and let's see the difference versus like let's get the bench to play the game, you know, the full game of the finals and hope for the best. And it's like you can. That's a way, but it's just not the way I like to approach it. So.
The winning team, baby.
And even just like winning in the winning sense, it's like, yo, who's gonna really put in the work? Like who's really wanting to do this stuff? You know, like plenty of people want to see it. Everybody wants to see it. Like, who doesn't want to go see, you know, like performance by Beyonce? Everybody wants to see. You see these tickets, they're going crazy. Or like the Dragons, like people want to go see it, but not everybody's willing to like do what it takes to be Drake. Do what it takes to get to the Hope level. Do what it takes to be at the Beyonce levels or the Jordan levels or the Obama levels or, you know, the Sean O'Brien, the 50 Cent levels, right? Not everybody's willingness to do what it takes. And so speaking to A players, it's not even just that you're winning or losing, it's more so that you're just really about that action getting it done, really getting in the thick of it and really, I don't know, just playing for real. Like people that just play for real.
Yeah, I like that.
Not just playing around, just play for real.
Thank you for saying that it's really not about winning or losing, truly. Let's play the game. Yeah, like who's really here to play? Because I mean, over time you see who the winners and losers are because it's about how they play. So. Received. Yeah. Well, what else can we expect from Light and Water? Great questions. This project called Blockworks. It's our wellness and workforce development project program for youth and young adults here in the Heights. I'll let that one speak more so for itself as it comes up. I don't want to speak too much on that one just yet. We also have this festival coming here soon called Welly Weekend, which, you know, is included as part of the Welly Pack. You'll get a day pass to Welly Weekend as well. So, and access to our space, which is here located at 1814 Paso. So yeah, if you haven't already, pre-order Welly Pack. Get wellness in your life with Life Welly. Yeah, get your wellness back. Yeah, that I would say that those are one of the main things. Beyond that, just is. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being in space with me today. My pleasure. Thank you for sharing your journey and just giving us more insight on Light and Water, Free Your Mind, and everything that goes within that realm. I wish you nothing but blessings on your journey. You already know how I feel about Light and Water. It's going up. It's beautiful, beautiful. I'm truly so inspired, and I'm so thankful to just be able to connect with you and have a relationship with you. I'm very thankful, and I'm looking forward to what the future holds. As am I. Yeah, no, we definitely look forward to it, and super appreciate your support. The support of Be the Sovereign. I know both of y'all personally, and y'all have always been like super cool, supportive folks about creativity, about just advancing stuff, you know, the creative movements throughout the city and beyond. So thank y'all for doing what y'all do, and just for you know, having the energy that y'all have. I mean, I think it's needed. It's not around as much, and we could definitely use more of it and more of these conversations and platforms to speak of. Shout out to y'all. Shout out to Be the Sovereign. Thank you. Yes. And huge thank you to the audience. Thank you for being in space. Thank you to all the listeners. This is Be the Sovereign podcast, and thank you, Light and Water, for holding space with us today. Peace, y'all. Peace.